people, and welcome. In today's video, we're going to be talking about equations of circles. We will be discussing two forms of the equations. There's going to be one form that we're going to use all the time, and the other one you just need to know how to acquire it. And then we're also going to be going back to completing the square. So if you have not watched that video yet and need a refresher, go ahead and watch that video. Disclaimer time, I'm human. If I make a mistake, that's okay. Let me know where the mistake occurs so that way we both can learn from my mistake. And let's get started. So for equations of circles, there are two equations that you need to be familiar with. So there is a standard form and there is a general form. General form, I'm going to be referring to it as expanded. And this expanded form comes from our standard form. Standard form is what we're going to be using 90% of the time. The other 10% is we're going to be converting from standard to expanded and from expanded to standard. Also know that expanded is your general form. But for your standard form, this is where you got to start memorizing things. Standard form is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared. Now, these letters are very familiar to us. We have talked about an H for a very long time. We have talked about a K for a very long time. But R is new. And think about it. We are talking about circles. And so what does R refer to when we are discussing circles? And you should have thought, or at least said, maybe not out loud, but in your head, that R typically means radius in a circle, and you would be 100% right. In this case, R is in fact a radius, just like it is in all circles. Okay, so what does everything mean? We have H, K is your center point. Then we have X, Y is any point on the circle. And then we have R, which is your radius. Now, R is your radius, not R squared. We don't want the radius to be squared. We want just the radius. Okay. That's pretty much it. There's your circle. You can graph with this equation. You can write the equation of a circle with standard form. Pretty neat. So let's do some examples. So example 1 says, find the center and radius of each circle. Okay, so let's do that. Given to us is x squared plus y squared is equal to 25. So again, what is our standard form? Our standard form is, I'll write it, should I write it underneath or next to it? I'll write it next to it. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So we want everything in our given equation to look like our standard form. So I'm going to rewrite things. I notice I have an x squared, but I don't have an h. So that means h is 0 plus, I see a y squared, but I don't see a k. So that means k is 0. And I also see 25. Now 25 is your r squared. We don't want r squared. We want just r. So I'm going to take a square root of 25, so that means I have 5 squared. So it's asking us for the center and the radius. So then, the radius is 5, and the center, so center, I'm still looking at my cheat sheet here. It's going to take a few moments for us to memorize these. Our center point is h comma k. So center point, h comma k, and that's equal to h comma k, 0 comma 0. So the radius of our circle is 5. The center point of our circle is 0. And with a radius and a center point, you basically have your circle. Let's do another example. It's asking us to write an equation. So we are writing an equation of the circle. So let's do, the center is given to us at 2 comma negative 3. And the radius, oh, you guys can't see that, I apologize, is 15. So how do we write the equation? Let's go ahead and copy down the standard form again. Okay, remember that radius gets squared, and then your center is h comma k. So h and k. Now, because they are inside the bubbles, if you're in my class, you know exactly what that means. If it's inside the parentheses, if it's inside the bubble, you're ultimately going to write the opposite. So since our h is 2, we're going to write here negative 2, but h is really 2 because we already have that negative here, squared, plus y. K is negative 3, so we're writing the opposite, which is plus 3. And that kind of didn't line up, so I'm going to rewrite it again. X minus 2 squared plus y plus 3 squared is equal to 15 squared. And 15 squared is 225. And that is your equation. Not too bad, I hope. Let's do some more examples. Okay, let's do one that's a little bit more complicated. We want to write an equation. Let me back up. I'm thinking what the best question would be for an example. Yeah, let's do this one. All right, example 3. We have x squared plus 4x plus y squared minus 6y plus 1 equals 0. This right here is expanded form. So this is your general form, or I'm going to call it expanded. And our objective is to convert that to our standard form. So expanded, we want standard form. So how do we do it? Step number 1 is you want to group all x's together and then all y's. So combine like terms. You don't have to move them over to any side. You just have to group them together. Step number 2 is move your variable, move your constant to the other side. So move the constant to the other side. If you need to divide something, like if you have like a variable here, you have to divide all terms. In this example, there is no constant, and in expanded form, you probably shouldn't run into something with a coefficient out because it is expanded form of a circle. If you do, just divide out, but you're pretty much not going to have that. Okay, so let's do that. Step number 1, group x's and y's together. Looks like they've already been grouped together, so I am happy. Step number 2 is move your constant over. I only have one constant here. I'm going to move it over by subtracting 1. So I have x squared plus 4x plus y squared plus 6y, and that's equal to a negative 1. Step number, what step number are we on? 3. You're going to set up your, what did we call it in our last video? You're going to set up to complete the square. So set up, complete the square. In this sense, you're going to have space for your x's, you're going to have space for your y's, and you're going to have space for your constant. And remember, we are adding these spaces in. So what I mean by that is, so this is step 3, this was step 2, this is step 1. So for step 3, we are going to, here's my x's, here's my space, here's my y's, here's my space, here's my constant, here's my space. Now, for your constant, notice how we had one here and we had one here. So we want 2 spaces for your constant. So let's add that in. Space for constant and then space. So 2 spaces for your constant. Let's call this space, I don't know, let's call this A. This is B, space A, space B. So we're going to add space A and space B on both sides. So whatever you do to one side, if you're adding a value to one side, you have to add that value to the other side, okay? Now we are ready to complete the square, and you're basically completing the square twice. So step number 4, complete the square. One for the x's, and then twice, or the second time, for the y's. So let's do that. Here's our b value divided by 2 squared, goes here. Then here's our other b value, goes there. And then again, don't forget to add on both sides. So what do we have? Let's shift this up. 4 divided by 2 squared. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Squared is 4. Again, both sides. And then the other one is 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 squared is 9. So we fill that in. So here's our 4. Here's our 4, color coding it a little bit. Okay, step number 5. Simplify and factor. So step number 4. Step number 4 was here, so this is step number 5. So I'm taking this right here and I'm going to rewrite it and simplify it. So x squared plus 4x plus 4 plus y squared plus 6y plus 9 is equal to negative 1 plus 4, that's negative, just kidding, that's positive 3, 9, 10, 11, 12, so I get 12. Now we're going to factor. You're going to factor the x's and you're going to factor the y's separately. So again, this will always give you a perfect square. And the number inside the parentheses before you square it is going to be what's going to be here. So x plus 3 and x plus 3. Oh, excuse me. This should be 2. X plus 2 and x plus 3. And let's see here. Oh, you guys. I hope you saw this. I'm not going to change it. I'm going to make just one small change. So let me scooch this up. I just realized I made a mistake in the beginning of my problem. But that's okay. We're going to fix it. I want to show you something. In my original, I have a negative 6. But the way that I rewrote it with a positive 6. That's okay. Mistakes happen. We can learn from our mistakes. You know what I'm going to do? Bam. Fixed it. Still works. It's going to give us a little bit of a different answer, but that's okay. It's okay. We're going to go with it. All right. So what do we have? I'm going to rewrite this because this looks icky. So x plus 2 squared plus x plus 3 squared equals 12. And that's it, because we want our final answer in standard form, and here it is. And from our standard form, we can get our center, and then we can get our radius. Now, do you notice how we have radius is 12? So how do we figure out what our radius is? We're going to take the square root of that, and square root of that is 4 times 3 on the inside, so that means I have 2 root 3 as my radius. And then for my center point, it's always going to be the opposite of what you see inside the bubble. So if you see a plus 2, it's going to be a minus 2. If you see a plus 3, it's going to be a minus 3. So now we have a center point of negative 2, and we have a center, we have a center point at negative 2, negative 3, and we have a radius of 2 root 3. All right, guys, this pretty much wraps up this this video. Oh, no, just kidding. False alarm. Let's do one more. Example 4. No, we were all getting excited that we were wrapping up this video, but not quite. Example 4. We have done an example going from our general form, our expanded form, to our standard form, but we haven't gone the other way. So let's do our standard form into our general form, or expanded. So let's do that. Example, x minus 2 squared plus y plus 1 squared is equal to 16. So how do we go from standard to expanded? Again, expanded is also your general form. We're going to expand. We're literally gonna expand. So x minus 2, if you know how to do it using the formula in your head, that's fine. I'm going to write it out. It's easier for me to write it out and FOIL so I don't make a mistake. Don't distribute this 2. If you do that, you're going to give me a heart attack and you're going to kill my soul on the inside. Don't kill my soul. Rewrite it and FOIL it if you're ever unsure of what that is. So x squared, what is this? Minus 4x plus 4. I'm going to try to color code it. See how long that's going to take me. Plus y squared plus 2y plus 1. (16) stays the same. Now what we're going to do is we're going to combine all of the things together and set it equal to 0. So I'm going to combine like terms. The only like terms I have are my constants. So I have a plus 3 plus 1. So I have x squared minus 4x plus y squared plus 2y. And then what do I have? Plus 5. Now I'm going to subtract 16 both sides. So I have 0 is equal to x squared minus 4x plus y squared plus 2y. And then what is this? Negative 11. So this is your expanded general form. And your standard form is this one. Now I can gladly say we are done with this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I've had a lot of fun with my many different colors. Color coding is life, as you can see. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Take care.